Okay, what's in a name? Apparently a lot if you're talking about mayonnaise.
New at 6, Mike Sugarman on the lawsuit that's put a small San Francisco food company in the national spotlight.
That jar of mayonnaise sitting in your refrigerator right now? It's not the recipe your mother trusted. The label looks the same. The logo hasn't changed in 50 years. The colors are exactly how you remember them. But the formula inside, quietly rewritten, one ingredient at a time. They replaced real eggs with modified food starch, real oil with industrial soybean filler, real shelf life with synthetic chemicals you cannot pronounce. I spent weeks tracking exactly when 5 of America's most trusted mayo brands sold out. What I found will make you flip every jar in your kitchen. In the next 12 minutes, I am going to expose them all and reveal 5 brands that are still worth your trust. Let's start with the worst one. Number 1. Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise. The Great American Betrayal. That blue ribbon label has been sitting in American kitchens since 1905. Richard Hellmann was a German immigrant. He opened a deli in Manhattan. He sold his wife's mayonnaise from a wooden boat on the counter. Customers loved it so much he started jarring it. By the 1970s, it was the best-selling mayo in America, found in more refrigerators than any other brand on Earth. That story is real. That history is genuine. What happened next is the part they leave off the nostalgic label copy. In the year 2000, Unilever bought the brand for $2.3 billion, the same British-Dutch corporation that owns Axe body spray and Dove soap. Corporations that size do not pay billions for a recipe. They pay it for a customer base they can quietly milk. The recipe did not change overnight. That is never how this works. It changed in small, quiet increments over years. A cheaper oil blend, 1/4. A synthetic stabilizer 6 months later. Each substitution justified internally as quality improvement. Customers funding the acquisition had no idea. Open a jar today and look at the back panel. Soybean oil, one of the most heavily processed industrial oils in America, linked to inflammation. Calcium disodium, EDTA, a synthetic chemical that prevents the cheap oil from going rancid before it reaches the shelf. Natural flavors, an FDA catch-all for over 3,000 lab-created compounds engineered to mask the flat taste of cheap ingredients. The label still says Real Mayonnaise. Translation: it technically qualifies under FDA rules. Real and authentic are 2 very different standards. Spoon a dollop onto a plate and watch what happens. Modern Hellmann's spreads completely flat within 20 seconds. Real mayonnaise holds its shape for over a minute. The emulsion is dying. Since 2022, complaint forms fill with the same words. Rancid aftertaste. Thinner consistency. Doesn't taste like the Hellmann's I grew up with. They are not imagining it. For seniors who have trusted that blue ribbon since the Eisenhower administration, that loyalty was sold to a London boardroom. For families using it 3 times a week, you are feeding your kids EDTA with every sandwich. The blue ribbon stayed. The recipe did not. If America's #1 brand can be hollowed out, the brand everyone calls real might be even worse. Number 2. Kraft. Real Mayo. The word real is doing heavy lifting. Pick up that yellow jar. Look at the front panel. The word real stamped across it in big, bold letters. Looks like a quality promise. Looks like the brand standing behind their product. It is not a quality promise. It is a legal classification. The FDA has a definition of mayonnaise. Kraft meets the bare minimum. They print real on the front, knowing 95% of shoppers will read it as authenticity instead of bureaucracy. That word is doing all the work. The product is doing none of it. Turn the jar around and read the ingredient panel in order. Soybean oil first, water second, eggs third. In federal labeling law, this means eggs are present in lower weight than oil or water. Kraft uses the absolute legal minimum egg content required to qualify as mayonnaise. Not 1 egg more than the law demands. What fills the gap between rich, creamy mayonnaise and the thin product that minimum eggs would create? Modified food starch, a laboratory-engineered thickener. It mimics the texture real eggs would create without the cost, the nutrition, or the actual flavor of eggs. Here is what this is going to do to your summer cookout. Modified food starch was engineered for controlled lab conditions. It was not built for 85-degree backyards in July. When your potato salad sits outside for 2 hours while family arrives, the starch breaks down at the molecular level. The fake thickness disappears. The salad goes watery, curdled, wrong. Home cooks see this and blame themselves. Their technique, their recipe, the potatoes they bought. They try again next year. Same disaster. They decide they are not good at making potato salad and stop trying. The problem was never your cooking. It was the mayo failing under conditions real eggs would have handled fine. Spooncraft. Real mayo onto a plate. Watch it collapse in under 30 seconds. The emulsion is fake. The proof is in the puddle. Mothers and grandmothers whose family recipe potato salad started going wrong about 10 years ago. It was never you. For diabetics counting carbs, modified food starch is a hidden carb load. If you have already learned something that is going to change how you read a label, hit subscribe and the bell. We expose what is really in your refrigerator every single week. The next 3 brands are why this video exists. One of them broke a 100-year-old promise to the American South. Number 3. Duke's Mayonnaise. The nostalgia sellout. This one is going to hurt, especially if you are from the South, because Duke's did not just build a brand. They built a belief system about what real food should be. Eugenia Duke started making her mayonnaise in 1917 in Greenville, South Carolina. She sold sandwiches to soldiers at Camp Sevier, shipping out to World War I. They loved it so much she turned it into a regional empire. No sugar, no compromise. That was not a tagline. That was a religion. For over 100 years, Southerners defended Duke's in grocery store conversations like family. It was the one mayo that had refused to sell out. The one bottle that still meant something. Then, in 2017, the Sauer family sold the brand. The buyer was Falfurrias Capital Partners, a private equity firm. Private equity firms do not acquire beloved regional brands because they love mayonnaise or respect Southern tradition. Their analysts identify loyal customer bases with strong emotional attachment to the brand name, combined with margin improvement opportunities throughout the supply chain. In plain English, they find customers who buy on trust instead of reading the label, and they find places to spend less money making the product without losing those customers. The changes began within 18 months. Duke's now uses soybean oil as its primary fat, the exact same industrial oil Hellmann's and Kraft use. It contains potassium sorbate, a synthetic preservative. The egg yolk to product ratio has been quietly reduced to lower per unit cost while still meeting mayonnaise classification requirements. The texture is noticeably thinner now, less rich, less substantial. The flavor profile has flattened out the way it always does when real ingredients are replaced with cheaper substitutes. That no sugar claim is still proudly stamped on the label. Still technically accurate. Translation: the one true thing on the front of the jar is now used as cover for every other substitution that has gutted what Duke's was supposed to mean. They kept the mason jar aesthetic. They kept Eugenia's story. They kept every element of brand identity that generates customer loyalty. They replaced the supply chain elements that actually honored that story. For Southerners who have defended Duke's in grocery store debates for 40 years, the company you defended does not exist anymore. For grandmothers passing down Duke's only rules to grandchildren, you are recommending a private equity product wrapped in your grandmother's memory. They kept her face. They kept the jar. They kept the story. They replaced everything else. If a 100-year-old Southern brand can sell out without anyone noticing, what about a brand that legally cannot even call itself mayonnaise?